What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to Redemption with Jaden. Today we're going to be doing something a little bit different for you guys. Instead of me actually playing a game, I'm going to be watching one. I'll just be a humble spectator, giving my commentary throughout the game. It's going to be the game between Luke and Josh from round 4 in the Lackey Grand Prix. I was talking to Luke about the game and kind of was hoping I could do live commentary as I recorded it. But as they were scheduling the game, turned out that I wasn't available at the time that they were able to schedule, and obviously I didn't want to get in the way of that. But Luke did agree to record the game from his perspective, and so I will be watching that with you guys for the first time. So you'll be getting kind of my basically live commentary, and then I will also be able to see things kind of from Luke's perspective there. I'll also be listening to them as they talk, so a few times if it's quiet, it's probably me just listening to them so I can have a little bit better idea of what's going on and what they're thinking about, and most of the time I'll relay that information to you guys if I find it necessary. But just know that the game's going to look a little bit different than it usually does because someone else was recording it, and it's going to feel a little bit different because I'm just watching as I'm playing, so obviously I'm going to be able to see things and talk about things that normally I wouldn't be able to during a game because either I'm thinking or I'm talking to my opponent and don't want to say what I'm thinking out loud necessarily. So that's what we're going to be doing here, just to kind of give you guys a little bit of background before we talk about Luke's deck, which he sent me the deck list. I guess what's at stake for each of these guys going into this game. So Josh, he was sitting comfortably in first place going into this round with 9 points and 10 or plus 10 loss hole differential, which means that he was very solidly in first and was pretty much locked into top cut. The only way that he would potentially be knocked out of top cut is if he loses to Luke here 5-0, which definitely a tall order, but nothing's impossible. Just unlikely, considering Josh is a pretty high caliber player, and his performance at nationals this past year definitely shows that. But definitely Luke's also a very good player, and anything can happen in a game of redemption. So definitely is an option or is a possibility, and if that is how this game turns out, then Chad and Josh would be tied for fourth place. And so they would have to have some sort of tiebreaker to figure out who would make the top cut. So that's what's at stake for Josh. Luke, on the other hand, is a little more desperate here. He basically has to make sure that Josh doesn't win outright, because if he does, then Luke is going to drop below Chad, and Chad will be in fourth place, making it into the top 4 top cut. Brad and myself already had played our games before this time and reported our scores, so they if they were doing the math or kind of keeping up, they would have known that Brad and I already made our secured our spots in the top 4, and so Luke was kind of basically just had to make sure that Josh didn't win outright. If they timed out, then Luke would also be secured in at least fourth place that way. So yeah, that's kind of what's at stake for both of these guys going into the game. I'm not going to spoil anything yet. Obviously you may have already checked the score in the Lackey Grand Prix game reports and everything, or you might already know how the Grand Prix ended if you're watching this in the distant future. But if you're, don't even know what the Lackey Grand Prix was, or you just, forgot what or how it panned out or anything, then I'll keep it a secret for you. We'll be surprised at the end here. So let's go ahead and look at Luke's deck. He told me that he kind of based it off of his Throneless Throne deck that he took third place in at Nationals in 2020. Which is basically just a super fast, kind of throne shell without actually playing Throne of David. But he was just able to get things set up super fast and then pop down some counters at the end of his turn before passing, so that his opponent would have a pretty difficult time catching up. So he kind of changed it up for a rotation, and he's got some different elements in here to kind of adjust for the meta as well, I guess. Not just rotation, but the rotation meta kind of calls for a few things to be different from the kind of typical throne layout that we've seen over the last couple of years in classic decks, classic builds. So the Lost Souls here, he's got kind of the general like aggro Lost Souls, I guess, or value Lost Souls with Lawless and Prosperity. And then he's got some of the counter Lost Souls like Distressed and Wicked to kind of help his defense. Orphans to kind of stop any chump blocks, and Humble to help out on both offense and defense. Very good Lost Soul right now with all the stuff that's trying to negate your heroes, negate your enhancements, like Confusion, Noah, Punisher Lost Souls, all these different things. That with the Humble Lost Soul you can kind of plan around, and it's very, very strong card. Definitely saved me in my recent Grand Prix games. So this is a card that I think should be in most decks right now. And then Darkness, also I guess another one of those value Lost Souls to set up an evil character, because as you can see, he's not running a whole lot here. He's got 6 or I guess maybe 7 total in the deck if you include Famine. Which theoretically could play Reap the Whirlwind or Confusion, or I guess Delivered in a pinch, I guess. But you'd have to get them from reserve with Storehouse first for those ones. So then looking at the dominance, pretty standard dominance selection here. He's using Elijah, so having Falling Away to set up a kind of jump rescue kind of thing where you convert their hero to a brigade that they aren't playing, and then choose it to block with Elijah, yada yada yada. And then also obviously could win a battle on defense if need be against a lone hero. And then Mayhem to get that card advantage after playing out a bunch of these territory class enhancements and all these characters. Pretty much looks like By My Spirit is the only card that he can't play out unless he's inhibited by like a golden calf or something that's stopping him from playing his territory class enhancements. So Mayhem, and I guess also his dominance, which he technically could play out, but probably gonna want to save them for the right time. So yeah, Mayhem definitely can get him a lot of value there, and could get him a block with Foreign Wives if he times it right. So yeah, that's definitely a good deck to be playing a Mayhem in. And we've got some Soul Gen here with Ends of the Earth, finding our good enhancements, some fortresses to kind of support and protect the hand, deck of reserve, and the offense. And I guess also the defense a little bit, protect from Elijah and that kind of stuff. He doesn't really have any meek heroes to protect with that portion, so it's really just stopping people from borrowing his characters. Some nice counter artifacts here with Golden Calf and Confusion of Mind that both utilized by Endless Treasures, as the errata will be live by the time that this video is live, but not before the time that this game was played. So it was basically their last opportunity to utilize Endless Treasures, which of course both Josh and Luke did here. And then Great White Throne is another pretty good setup artifact. A little bit tricky in this deck, I feel, because you kind of want to have it available turn 1, have some option to go find a hero that you need, and there might not always be an option, like an evil card to banish in a discard pile on turn 1. He does have Delivered, so that's probably going to be the most common scenario. If he plays Delivered to activate Endless Treasures and then activates Great White Throne afterwards or something like that. Unfortunately, you can't play Delivered and activate Great White Throne and banish Delivered, because Delivered is still in play when Great White Throne gets activated. So not the best option, but maybe if you play Delivered on turn 1, then you have Great White Throne targets for turn 2, or if you're, you block and your character dies, or something on turn 2, it's definitely more likely because you've got 2 rounds of attacking where evil cards might end up in the discard pile. But yeah, definitely a nice artifact, especially right now with a decent amount of defensive banding. I suppose he could put down an evil character, discard it with Great White Throne, and then, well, no, he wouldn't be able to discard before the banish because the banish happens at activation time, and the other ability is at any time. So never mind, scratch that. And the last one, Urim and Thummim here, he's got a couple of High Priests here in reserve. He's got a Jehoiada and a Zadok that can both qualify for his Urim and Thummim so that he can look at his opponent's hand. Hand knowledge in this offense is going to be pretty strong, pretty necessary, really. It's very similar to kind of a Postexilic offense where it's just trying to make the right attack at the right time. He's not running a whole lot of battle winners here, pointed out by my spirit earlier. That's kind of the only enhancement that has an opportunity to remove an evil character. He's also his third seal, which is kind of meant to be a battle winner, playing it off of Strong Angel to make them top deck and or under deck 3 evil cards from hand. And he's got a few options in reserve here as well. So yeah, definitely a pretty versatile offense as far as heroes go, and then the enhancements are here just to kind of set up whatever he needs. I could see it struggling a little bit against a defense that is well prepared for this kind of thing, having lots of battle winners that are hard to stop. But Luke did kind of prepare for that, I guess, by finding one of the few CBM protection lines, I guess, that are left in the game in rotation. So he pointed this out to me when he was sharing the deck with me, saying, Defender of the Saints can exchange to Jehoiada Kingmaker in his reserve, and then makes him CBN. So you can protect like your David or Jehoshaphat, and probably David because he's bigger. Can protect him from evil cards and then ban to him. And because of Defender of the Saints, that cannot be negated. So you're going to have David in battle who's protected, and then Jehoiada just to have big numbers. And if they get rid of Jehoiada, that's it certainly can make it difficult if you don't have anything to play on David. But David bans to other dudes, and usually the big ban is kind of hard for them to deal with everyone. So yeah, depending on big numbers and that kind of thing could potentially be an issue for that. But I think with how fast the offense is able to set up and kind of how resilient it is, it can kind of roll with the punches a little bit if needed. But it has to do so fast because if you go over here and look at the defense, particularly this part of the defense right over here, my cursor showing, right? Yeah. There are no evil enhancements in the main deck unless you count Persian Horses and Delivered. But Persian Horses is usually going to be played as Persian Horsemen, the character, to grab something from reserve. And these are where the battle winners are hanging out. So you got Profane Daughters that can grab Unsuccessful. Persian Horsemen, which can grab Confusion and or Reap the Whirlwind. Well, I guess just but can grab both of them on different battles. And then you also have Storehouse, which can grab all 3 of them. Necromancer, I guess, can either copy a Persian Horseman or a Profane Daughters to take one of the battle winners from discard pile. Actually, can't really copy Persian Horseman unless there's a different Persian in play. I mean, you could still get the draw 2 or discard an artifact, but you would not get the Persian trigger because it only copies the special ability, doesn't copy the actual card. So it's not like Necromancer becomes a Persian. But copying Profane Daughters could still be pretty good. Copying Lying Prophet can still be good because you can just straight up discard a Prophet. That's another way to win a battle or just to draw. And Foreign Wives also doesn't really work with Necromancer because it says protect Foreign Wives from cards used by opponent. Kind of similar to the reason that Uzza doesn't work with Necromancer because it says you have to discard an artifact and Uzza. And you can't really discard Uzza with Uzza being banished. I guess if you had another copy of Uzza, or if there was actually no, I'm pretty sure that a copy of a card referring to its own name means it has to be that copy of the card. Now that I think about it, so Foreign Wives doesn't protect Foreign Wives in opponent's territory if you block with yours. But anyways, it's not really the point. I guess the point of that was just saying that Necromancer maybe doesn't necessarily belong in this deck. Copying Profane Daughters might be okay if she gets negated and discarded later and unsuccessful still stays in your reserve, but there might be a couple of better options here, maybe like a Conjurers to at least get Confusion out of reserve or something like that. Probably not that because it doesn't really get a battle winner, but anyways, that's the deck. I think it looks pretty sweet and be fun to try it out at some point. But for now, we're just going to watch Luke pilot it. And oh, one of the other things that is probably worth mentioning here is the Cloud Moses is in here, which is a really strong card if you can build around it in the current meta because of all the negate neutrals, heroes, and whatnot. So I think Luke's goal of the 2020 version was kind of to do all your stuff and then put down Nazareth. I know his brother Nick was running that, and that's what he ended up taking first place that year. I'm pretty sure they were running fairly similar decks, and I think with this deck, it's kind of the same idea where you play a lot of your territory class stuff that would be negated by Moses, but you play it before, like in your prep phase, then you attack, and then you put Moses down in your discard phase to negate your opponent's stuff. So that, I think, is what Luke is trying to pull off here, and let's go ahead and see if he can do it to get into the top 4. Luke starts off with No Lost Souls. He's got Second Coming, Ezekiel, Malachite Slave, Defender of the Saints, Faith of Joshua, Ends of the Earth, Emmaus Road, and Mayhem. So they started their timer, and then they're rolling to see who goes first here. I think, so Josh rolled a 4, and Luke rolled a 6, so Luke's going to decide to go first here. And by the looks of it, Josh also doesn't have any Lost Souls. Luke's going to use the star on Emmaus Road to look at Josh's hand, so we'll get to see what he's got right away too, which is cool. He's got a Rabshakeh, Foreign Wives, Christian Martyr, Chronicles of the Kings, Three Woes, Angel of the Lord, Zerubbabel, and Endless. So yeah, that's it's half dominance right there that he's got. But Endless Treasures and Zerubbabel are kind of set to set him up pretty well, depending on what Luke is able to get set up here. Luke does have Endless Treasures though, so he pretty much has to just get around Christian Martyr as a block, because Rabshakeh I don't believe is gonna really affect anything for him here. Let's see. Rabshakeh, remember what all it does. So you can underdeck a good card, and Luke can just reveal his hand instead. All right, so Luke's playing Ezekiel. Wait, did Josh not just use the star ability on Super Bowl? Sorry, I gotta go back here, guys. Got distracted looking at the Rapture. So Starblade and Super Bowls play a good temple from deck. Oh, you know what? I wonder if Luke is just zoomed in a little bit too much right now and can't see where Josh put his temple on the battlefield here. Looks like Renee joined as a spectator. So yeah, now we've got Luke playing Ezekiel, Emmaus Road. Get to take a little peek through his deck here, which you guys already saw at the beginning. Sorry, I'm kind of blocking the edge of it here, but he's going to grab Offering Your Son, which likely is going to be probably going to go get an Endless Treasures, which is probably going to set up a probably Golden Calf on the first turn, but we see a Confusion of Mind there too. I think it would make sense for Luke to do Endless Treasures here because he definitely wants to draw. Oh, okay. Now he reset his zoom a little bit. Oh, okay. So yeah, I guess Josh did have an Orphans and a Distressed over there. And also, his cards are showing up upside down. I didn't realize that that was the thing that you could do in Lackey. Probably just something you have set up in your preferences. The more you know. So, yep, Luke's using his Endless Treasures, getting some good use out of it before it gets errated. Drawing two. Technically, Josh will get the option to discard before Luke gets before Luke draws. But Josh actually does go for the discard. Discards an Angel of the Lord to get rid of Confusion of Mind. So it's potentially a risky play there, but maybe it will. I mean, Josh needs his removable ability to, I think, get things set up, and he's going to need Jeshua at some point if he's, playing a Postexilic deck like him. It's kind of shaping up like he is, like it's looking like, I guess. So yeah, now Luke's got to decide what to do here about the Christian Martyr and the Chronicles that's in Josh's hand, and the Rapshika, I suppose. Doesn't have to worry about the Foreign Wives because he didn't draw 3 from his opening because he went first. So even though he drew True Up of Endless, Foreign Wives is not a block here. Anyways, kind of going back to the Rapshika. So Rapshika only underdecks a good card. He can reveal his hand instead. Then only equips or takes weapon or stuff from reserve. But right now Luke is going in with Defender of the Saints and he's deciding not to exchange. And I'm pretty sure that's because the only target in his deck is probably Ezekiel. And so, yeah, Josh is forced to use his Martyr here, Defender, because the Rapshika can't get to the reserve, and so yeah, the 8/8 on Defender of the Saints would have just been enough numbers to beat Rapshika or Foreign Wives, so it is Martyr. Josh finds a hopper here, which is a nice draw for him. That way he is going to be able to make a rescue attempt with Zerubbabel, not just a battle challenge. Seems likely that I guess he's going to start out with Endless Treasures, and then Zerubbabel, depending on what he draws, Zerubbabel to play a Keem from his deck seems like a pretty legitimate strategy. Playing Postexilic myself, I have a little bit of an idea, but Josh goes for a Golden Calf, draws his 2, puts down a Treacherous Land. We'll see if he decides to occupy it or just leave it. Seeing that that Luke is running green, he might not really bother, especially when he has 2 Lost Souls right now. Kind of leaves it a little bit more vulnerable to put a Lost Soul in it, in case your opponent does happen to be running Rebel and Dust. So, yep, Luke's coming out with Zerubbabel, the Builder, converting him to meek to draw 2, and playing a Keem from his deck to negate Luke's neutral cards. But Luke has an opportunity here now to take out Zerubbabel. But it seems like he's going to go with Malachite Slave and might just be going to find Foreign Wives in his deck. You get the solid block here. So, here comes the Slave. Going through his deck and going for Foreign Wives. Persian Horsemen or Profane Daughters probably be better here if it wasn't the first round and Luke didn't have access to his reserve. So they both pass, and they both retreat or stalemate. So I'm guessing that Josh is okay with that result. He might not have had a battle winner to play on Zerubbabel. I'm a little surprised now that he's playing Solomon's Dream in Territory and he didn't play it in battle because he would have gotten an extra draw. But that would have opened the opportunity for Luke to negate it if he did have a negate. So let's see what Josh goes for here. I'm looking how long this video, see if I'm going to have to edit any of it out for you guys. There's only like just over an hour left. Should be fine. Guess you make it, right? I just keep talking the whole time. Josh goes for an Emmaus Road here, which is interesting. I just want to have it to save it, or it seems like he could have just gotten whatever he was going to be searching for with Emmaus Road with Solomon's Dream, but looks like he did find a Jeshua in his drawing. So he's going to come down. Okay, so yeah, he just got a Emmaus Road to hang on to get whatever he needs for next turn. Maybe he'll want to go into his reserve for like a Noah's Ark or something. But now he's passing the turn. So Luke drew a Captive Priest, a Delivered, and a Profane Daughters. So he could use the star ability on Delivered to discard the top card of Josh's deck. And it's the second round, so now reserves are fair game. Let's see what he decides to do here. He's going straight into battle, it looks like, with Captive Priest. So he's not using the Delivered star ability. But because Golden Priest or Captive Priest, he can capture to Josh's Land of Bondage, take Golden Calf, and go to his reserve for a priest, it looks like. It's going to be Zadok. And activates the Tables of Law from his reserve, which is not a card that see a whole lot, especially kind of at the higher levels of play here, which is kind of cool to see it being tried out. Just a little extra layer of hand protection, which is pretty important these days. And she decides to hang off on the banding here. And yeah, that's probably because Josh has a treacherous land that he now gets to trigger once. He would have gotten to trigger it twice if Ezekiel came in as well. Might also be worried about a scattered or something to that effect. Not that he has a negate for it anyway, but he's putting fewer heroes at risk this way. And based on what Luke knows in Josh's hand, he still has his evil characters beat. But Josh has drawn a lot of cards and is able to block with the Tartan. So he gets to... he's going to target Tables of the Law with the negate. It's already negated by Akeem, but no territory class characters or enhancements to discard, and decides not to band. So it passes initiative to Luke, who has Faith of Joshua, which unfortunately says single brigade site. Otherwise, taking out Treacherous Land would be pretty great right there. But now he gets to use a few of his search abilities that he... they're territory class enhancements, I guess, that he did not get to play before the battle. Not that I guess he had a hero to play Faith of Joshua on at that point anyway, but he plays that to search for Captain of the Host. And I guess Faith of Joshua, is it add to battle? He played in battle? I guess so. Faith of Joshua. If used during battle, you may add it to battle. It's pretty solid. So, yep, Captain just coming in to draw, but Chronicles is going to come down and hit both Faith of Joshua and Tables, so Captain will go back. The draw will still remain. And yeah, Luke's enhancements are prevented, so I don't think there's going to be a whole lot he can do here unless he wants to play it delivered for the numbers, but that doesn't seem like the best option. Although, I guess, maybe, if Josh doesn't have anything else to play, then I suppose I could see that. Yeah, I guess if Josh had to play Chronicles to stop Faith of Joshua, then it makes sense that he might not have anything else. He does get another Treacherous Land trigger here, which he forgot to trigger on Faith of Joshua. And now Josh is going to play his own delivered, which actually works, so he's going to activate an artifact from his deck, which probably be Endless Treasures, and if he has a Flying Scroll here, that would be pretty good. He could just take Zadok. But otherwise, the numbers are going to be pretty good. Broken Covenant is also quite good. So Broken Covenant allows him to discard an evil card from his hand or a random card from his deck, and then draw X, where X is the number of opponent's good brigades, which I think should be 3 right now. Yeah, Luke was wondering about ends, if that would work, but it is negated by Akeem, so adding it to battle would not do anything for him, but nor would it trigger Treacherous Land because it's not a good card. So looks like, yeah, Josh has 14 toughness to Luke's 12 attack. And if he was playing delivered, then maybe Josh doesn't have anything else to play, but he did draw a bunch of cards between when he played delivered. So yeah, seems like he um, probably drew that off of the Endless Treasures, Broken Covenant stuff. Um, and so yeah, now he's withdrawing Zadok. And because Luke can't beat it just by the numbers, he's going to let the withdraw resolve instead of discarding and stuff from his a good card from his hand in reserve. I think Luke might have been better off there with keeping his delivered and his endless treasures or his Emmaus Road. I think Josh did get another or did miss another treacherous land trigger there off of Emmaus Road. But Josh is now at 11 cards, and it's not looking great at this point for Luke, despite Josh having to throw away his Angel of the Lord on a rescue and it still being 0-0. So Josh draws, finds a Nehemiah, a Joshua. Definitely both solid heroes. Joshua can underdeck that Ends of the Earth, just to slow Luke down a little bit, even though it's negated. It comes down in Lackey, the meek side. Not sure, I can't remember what the meek side is called, and also a David on the meek side. So he's choosing not to use the ability side of his David before letting him kind of convert to meek on his own, I guess, which is interesting. Probably means that he already has what he needs to maybe pull off like an impartial judgment, which would definitely hurt Luke here. He would have to discard all of the evil cards in his hand. Really, the only thing that's slowing Josh down right now is his foreign wives, or his Luke's foreign wives, that is kind of making him think a little bit more about his rescue. So Josh is playing his Emmaus Road. And is going to go find a David's Descendant, which might be going for, it's going for a Goshen. All right. I was going to say Noah's Ark, but Goshen is probably just as good here. I'm sure his defense is kind of geared around it. The weird thing, I guess, is that impartial judgment becomes very hard to play unless you've got a Noah. So he's using his Broken Covenant again, discarding Shalmaneser from his hand to draw 3, draws a Prosperity, and he discards Reverence and Awe to draw 2 more. And looks like he's just playing right into Foreign Wives, hoping to find an answer. Or maybe he's got a enhancement that he can toss with Goshen, so that seems pretty reasonable too. Josh activates Windows of Narrow Light. He's got 3 meek heroes in play. So Windows when the gate characters and enhancements in battle. Joshua's coming out, banning to a Postexilic hero, which will be a meek Zerubbabel. And with Zerubbabel's Temple, he's going to top deck By My Spirit from his reserve, and then Joshua draws the 1. So I think that because Windows of Narrow Light is going to be preventing his profane daughters, then Luke's best play here is to do foreign wives and maybe use Falling Away on Zerubbabel. So we might just play Falling Away on Zerubbabel here and then try to punish against Joshua. I think he would still have to block with foreign wives though. I'm curious what Josh has to toss though, because By My Spirit would not be tossed. Oh, I guess he can play it on Joshua though. Is that how Goshen's worded? Also, enhancements is a different brigade than the character using it, so yeah. So if he played it on Joshua, then it would toss. But yeah, Luke sees through it a little bit. Has the Falling Away to play on Zerubbabel to stop, I mean, both Windows of Narrow Light and to stop him from tossing with Goshen. And yeah, Josh didn't realize that Goshen is only active with the meek hero in battle, not just in play. So By My Spirit does not really do anything here. So he's actually going to play something else instead here, I guess. He's going to play Zerubbabel's Plumbline, which lets him top deck a good card from his reserve because it's not played on a meek hero. Which is Oath of Purity. And because of all that, or kind of in response to that, Luke's going to play Mayhem because he knows that if Josh gets to pull off in Oath of Purity, he'll be able to abandon his dudes and toss the By My Spirit again. So pretty good play there on Luke's part, at least. It was kind of a last-ditch effort. He only had about a 50% chance of hitting the Oath of Purity, but I guess he would also hit the By My Spirit as well. So Josh did draw a Covet, so he's going to go find a Lost Soul out of Luke's deck, which looks to be a Humble. And Luke drew some decent offense there. So Josh was passing initiative to Luke, which actually would still be Josh's initiative because Luke is protected and the strength of his heroes don't matter. So since, with the Zerubbabel's Plumbline, he'd be an 8/5 against the 6/6 Foreign Wives, but since Foreign Wives is protected, then Josh is straight up losing this battle at this point. So he did get to keep the Oath of Purity, but whether or not he got to keep the By My Spirit, I guess we will find out. So he has to ban to all OT humans. And a meek Noah is going to be one of them. So yeah, the only hero that's not negated here the only hero that's not negated here is Ends of the Earth, so that gets underdecked. And And then because Oath of Purity was searched for by Plumbline, which is now negated by Windows of Narrow Light, then it goes back to his reserve. But obviously it doesn't cascade, and so the heroes are all still banded in. And yeah, Luke got a little bit unlucky there that Josh was able to hang on to By My Spirit. So because he's playing it on Joshua, who doesn't match the brigade, because it has red, which is different than Joshua's abilities or colors, then yeah, it still gets tossed. And Josh gets up to 1. Profane Daughter is kind of getting scared over there by all of Josh's offense. Maes Road is going to Josh's reserve to play or to get a Jesse that he's going to play as Meek. Which is interesting. I guess he's not really worried about any characters that Luke could have that are territorial class ones, I guess. Luke draws a 3rd seal, Chronicles, and Angelic Guidance. So Thummim and Great White Throne don't really do anything for him here, but he does have a Cherubim that he can play Angelic Guidance on to look at Josh's hand still. Which looks like he is going to do. And it looks like Josh has got a mitt full of defense there. He's got a King Tiglath or Ravsheka's threats, which is very good. Negates the last and prevents the next, and then Lurking and a Deceiver to go get pretty much whoever he wants. So it's going to be a tricky rescue for Luke no matter what, but Angel of the Lord is probably going to be able to get the job done here as long as nothing tricky comes out with the Deceiver and Luke is able to pay the alternative costs on Josh's evil characters. So it looks like Luke's going to go get Captain. Putting down his artifacts. He forgot to shuffle his deck. Flips over Josh's Golden Calf. This might as well, just in case Hakeem gets turned off somehow. So it looks like Luke's thinking of going with Captain, banding to Josh's Joshua, and then exchanging to one of his own heroes. Looks like Luke forgot to conceal his deck here, but it's all right. I don't think he was really paying attention to what was on top for the purpose of drawing it. But he is going to draw one. Happens to be Son of God, which is convenient. Bans to Joshua to underdeck Treacherous Land, and I think exchange to his hand for the David that's in there. And big by the number, big cannot be negated band is going to be something that is going to be tricky for Josh to deal with. He's got Ramshika's threats and a lurking, which neither of them are like by themselves going to win him the battle. So it'll be depending on what he can do with his characters and what he can find with the Deceiver, and if that can get around. That can get around the banding. Oh, an Angel of the Lord, obviously. So Jehoshaphat bouncing Akeem, pretty solid play there with Golden Calf active. And you can ban to Priest, Warrior, Meek Hero, all the other Musician, I think is the other one. You know, the different things that Jehoshaphat can ban to. And just trying to decide who to go with here. Yeah, I don't think Josh had any Evil Dominance left in his hand for Cherubim, so Ezekiel probably isn't all that useful for him here. Nehemiah might be better if he has an OT Fortress to play. Yeah, looks like that's what he's going to do. Really, I guess unless he was just going for numbers, the better idea might have been Jeshua, because then he would have been able to play it, cannot be negated. Nehemiah is negatable. At least the protection and the playing or exchanging. Obviously, the modifier with the weapons or CBN is not negatable. So he's going to go for a Deceiver to the reserve for the Rabsaris. And he's got a little bit of CBN banding himself. So he's banding to both Rabshakeh and the Tartan, but he's just doing Rabshakeh's ability first. And now because Luke just played his Storehouse, then he can't reveal his hand instead. So David gets underdecked, and he gets to take Hired Sword from reserve. And the Tartan negates Jehoshaphat to bring back Akeem and Nehemiah. And both of those are CBN. So it looks like an Angel of the Lord and a Chronicles is what Josh is going to need, or what Luke is going to need here. He's going to have to play Angel on the Tartan, and that would get him numbers. Well, I guess, yeah, third seal. That's going to be pretty good for Luke right here. Playing the third seal, which will force Josh to top deck and Tiglath, Lurking, Rabshka's Threats, or Hired Sword. So I guess whatever he top decks, he's probably going to keep in negate so that he can negate third seal, but Luke's Chronicles is going to come in handy here. And it's back to Luke's initiative. I think Josh is hoping to have an opportunity to negate this here. No, he's choosing to underdeck those three. Probably wants to be able to find some gas for his offense, because he didn't have a whole lot other than his dominance there. Luke's trying to remember what Ramshika's Threats does. But he really should just play Angel first and then wait for Ramshika's Threats to come afterwards. Because as long as it's cannot be interrupted, which would be really good, then and he's playing his Chronicles beforehand. Yeah, he's deciding to wait, which is probably smart just in case Josh is able to get down to his humble count. So he's negating, discarding third seal, getting that stuff back. But Luke has a Chronicles to respond to it. So those 3 evil cards will go back on the bottom. And Golden Calf and Broken Covenant also get hit in the crossfire. But that's going to be all that Josh has there. So it's going to take out those 2 evil characters, and it's gonna be a really good rescue for Luke here, because now Josh has no evil cards in hand and not a whole lot of gas on his offense unless he can find a way to bounce his Zerubbabel and get some drawing. But doesn't really look like Luke has a whole lot to block here either. So as long as Josh puts a meek hero into battle to activate his Windows of Narrow Light, then he's going to be able to stop Profane Daughters. Looks like Luke is going to play Son of God here to go ahead and pick up Josh's Humble. And you might just play Second Coming here to get it out of the way. That seems like the smart thing to do once you've played one of them, although Josh did already play his Reverence and Awe. Or he discarded it, rather. But now Luke is kind of just tipping his hand a little bit, in the sense that now Josh knows what's in his hand exactly, which is probably about to be nothing if Luke ends up playing Son of God. And probably going to grab the other Humble there, so he's got both his and Josh's. And I think he's just gonna, I think he was waiting for Josh to get it for him, but Josh drew a Punisher, which might hurt Luke a little bit here. He's using the star ability on Virgin Birth to look at his top 6, and he can choose to underdeck Virgin Birth to take one of them. He already got Jesse out of his reserve, so I'm guessing that he doesn't really need Virgin Birth, so he does take one of them and puts Virgin Birth on the bottom. Especially because what he needs right now really is his defense. He's got an Assyrian camp that he plays as an evil character. He finds a Balaam's Prophecy. That's a really good card for him right now. So he's trying to kind of refuel. So you should be taking a star card with one of either Emmaus Road or Mary. So he's choosing what order to top deck them in. And because there are 4 good cards, and Luke is pointing out that you do have to take a star card, which doesn't really matter in this case because he would be drawing it anyway, but so he takes Emmaus Road and he'll get to draw 3. Finding a Book of the Law there is pretty solid. So basically he's just going to take those 3, put the other 2 back on top. Doesn't really, I guess he's probably just going to get the other two anyway. If he uses book to bounce his herbal, which yep. So he'll be able to draw two. If he had a way to bounce his Assyrian camp, that'd be really good because he would be able to activate his darkness. Let's see, is there a way that he can get Luke's Jehoshaphat into battle? Doesn't really look like it. He's going for Emmaus Road, which is going to shuffle Son of God off the top. But I guess without Luke really having fossils right now, it probably doesn't matter. And Josh has 7 cards left in his deck anyway, so Luke's taunting him a little bit, telling him to play his impartial judgment. So, yep, Josh coming out with Joshua, going to Zerubbabel, drawing 2, converting to Meek, and not really any other reason to do anything. He is going to use Zerubbabel's Temple and Book of the Law. So he'll get to top deck 2 good cards from his reserve and draw them both with Joshua. So he's grabbing a Feast of Boots and an Oath of Purity. And Windows of Narrow Light is active, so Profane Daughters is prevented. So Luke's got no options there. So Josh gets 2. So depending on what Josh has left on defense here, might be in a little bit of trouble because there's no Lost Souls on the table for Luke right now. He's using his Feast of Booths to draw when I think his better play would be to hang on to it and reserve it in his upkeep with Zerubbabel's Temple to play a Lost Soul from Luke's deck, as long as he has a way to negate Storehouse, which I don't believe he's played 3 Woes yet, so assuming that he's run into that by now, or at least by, he will by next turn, then he would be able to do that. But puts down a Tiglath Pleaser and plays Emmaus Road just to shuffle it into his deck. And Luke draws his 3. Not a terrible set of 3 cards to draw because none of them are souls. And so Luke is going to trigger Storehouse, find a First Sacrifice, which seems like a pretty good play here. Probably going to be able to hit the lurking out of Josh's hand. All right, so First Sacrifice coming down to negate Punisher, which would allow, see, I guess it wouldn't allow Moses to work because Distressed would also be negating him. So I think he's thinking about that right now. Uh, 6 negating Punisher and is going to Josh's hand to underdeck an evil card. So there's the woes. There's a Senecra Blasphemes. Negate discard a good card. If you use it by an Assyrian, you can ban to an Assyrian, then Hired Sword is a negate. So I think if he does 3 woes here, then he can attack with Moses, and then By My Spirit is enough to just win him the battle by the numbers. Says he goes Snicker Blasphemes. Also is a decent option because I mean it's the only one that really wins the battle. So if he just goes out with enough CVN heroes or CBP heroes, then he'll be able to get through. So Punisher is still going to be active. Let's see, because he's got green, purple, red, silver, teal. So yeah, definitely more than 3 good brigades. Luke goes for Offering Your Son to go find an OT artifact from his deck. See what he's got left in there. Might just be Golden Calf. So I think Endless Treasures is in his artifact pile. But he isn't able to get the abilities on any of them. So, oh, I guess he does have Endless Treasures. It's just hiding behind me. Hiding behind Luke and what I'm watching. So. So that's right. He's got Ermin Thummim and Breakaway Throne. So he puts down Endless. Better to save that for his rescue in case he needed the numbers, but I think he'll just be going with a big band here, so he shouldn't really need the numbers. And he might have just wanted to get it down before Moses came down so that he could so that he would be able to get a use out of it. Now Luke's trying to figure out a way to play around T-Land because as soon as he attacks with a multi-brigade hero, Josh will just draw that Snecker Blasphemes back. But if Luke attacks with Captain, bans to Josh's Joshua, then he could underdeck T-Land and go to his Jehoshaphat. Jehoshaphat can ban to Ezekiel, can ban to Cherubim, can ban to Joshua, bans to like Zerubbabel. And I think that would so Luke's wondering if he bans to Josh's heroes, if they would be negated because of Punisher. I don't believe that they actually would be. Josh was saying that they would be. But I believe that only heroes that Luke owns and controls, well, controls and owns, emphasis on owns, would be negated. So I guess what Luke could have done with Golden Calf is, or could have done with Offering Your Son, is search for Golden Calf and activate it, kind of do what he did last turn of bouncing Akeem with his Jehoshaphat. Yep, going in with Ezekiel and Cherubim. The top deck's 3 woes, so I guess that was smart. Or I was thinking he should have underdecked 3 woes with for sacrifice, but I wasn't thinking about cherubim, so it's a good play on Luke's part. Kind of got an extra card there, I guess. So you can ban now to Joshua is pretty much the best option here, unless he wants to ban to Noah. I guess that works too. But my spirit works on both of them. And Hired Sword gets top decked or gets tossed by Goshen, and since Noah's in there. So Josh draws 2 from the bottom with Treacherous Land. And Digger gets to block. And Luke has to capture his human hero, reserve their active artifact, or give Josh a city. Doesn't have an active artifact or a city to give, so he has to capture one of his human heroes there. It's probably going to be Zadok, I'd imagine. And it does go to Luke's Land of Bondage, so. Yep, so Zadok gets captured. And yeah, Josh draws 1 with King Tiglath, so he gets his woes back. I think he didn't realize that his hand was still revealed there. And Josh plays Necro Blasphemes to negate and discard Noah. Ban to Assyrian Camp, which prevents multi-brigade enhancements to use by heroes except meek heroes. So Josh had the answer there. I think if Luke had gone with Captain to Joshua to underdeck Treacherous Land, then Jehoshaphat and Ezekiel, Cherubim, Joshua, Zerubbabel, I think he would have gotten it there. Just would have been too much for Josh to deal with, the numbers. And again, Josh just goes right in with Joshua and Zerubbabel. He's got a Zadok to rescue now, which is a nice little soul gen option with King Tiglath there. So now Luke should probably just activate his artifacts, even if they don't do anything. And Josh passes the turn. Draws a Distressed, which is negated by Akeem. And Josh is going to go ahead and play Son of God to rescue Distressed. Puts him at 4. And he uses Second Coming to search for Son of God back to his hand. So he needs 1 more. Really just needs Luke to draw 1 lost soul. And Luke has to decide what to take here with Storehouse. He's trying to decide if he needs defense or offense here, but he decides to go for Out of Bethlehem. At this point, he doesn't really need defense, because if the Lost Soul ends up being generated, I guess, somehow, then Josh can display Son of God. He doesn't have to attack, so taking offense makes sense. And now Luke is activating his Ermine Thummim just to have an option against King Tiglath. He puts down a wall of protection. He's got his own Joshua now, so now he can hit something, I guess Treacherous Land, but Josh just has one card left in his deck, so probably doesn't matter too much. The one card I think is lurking based on what we saw in Josh's hand before and what he underdecked. So Luke should go out here, but he doesn't want to draw because he doesn't want to find a lost soul. Just gonna has to rely on what he has in his hand and look at the draw here. He's going out with Captain. Can negate an evil card, which it's like you should choose the Assyrian camp there to negate, but he doesn't specify a target. Bans to Joshua from Josh's territory and exchanges to Jehoshaphat in his own territory to bounce Akeem. So Joshua should actually be in Luke's territory now. And then after battle, Jehoshaphat would go back to Josh's territory. He bans to Joshua, who bans to Zerubbabel. So yeah, this is it's gonna be pretty tough to beat rescue, I think, for Josh. All right, that's it. Josh hands over Lost Soul number 4 to Luke. And it's gonna make it pretty close here. It's all gonna come down to whether or not Josh can generate a Lost Soul or if Luke draws one on his turn. His next turn. So Luke passes to Josh. I think Josh's deck was still revealed, so got to see what he drew there, but didn't really matter. And doesn't sound like Josh has a way to generate a Lost Soul here. And now he realizes his misplay of playing his Feast of Booths instead of using it for Zerubbabel's Temple. It is pretty tough to, or it is something that is often missed with Zerubbabel's Temple, is getting that soul gen option or aspect there. So yeah, Josh is just trying to figure out what he can do here. Bouncing his Jeshua to basically just protect it from Luke. And place a Emmaus Road for no search, just to shuffle it into his deck and get down to hand size. And so now it's Luke's turn. Draws his 3 and does not find a Lost Soul. So he's got a chance here. So you're saying there's a chance. Luke puts up a great white throne, which is also negated, but if he has a way to bounce Hakeem again, then I suppose he can use it. I guess it was, yeah, Josh's hand that still revealed to all players, so that's why Luke got to see what Josh was drawing. You can tell we're dealing with people who don't play on Lackey enough, so you guys better step it up. Luke's gonna have to see if he can get it done here without the help of Josh's offense. Might require 3 woes on his Punisher to get his hero's abilities to work. So he can do Captain Joshua, Jehoshaphat, and Jeremiah or something like that. Other option is Elijah choose summon a block and then play out of Bethlehem. If he plays Lurking, then he can negate it with woes, or actually out of Bethlehem would just retarget to all the evil characters in battle. Once again, Captain Joshua, Underdeck T-Land, ban to Jehoshaphat, bounce Akeem. Heard the story before. He does use the negate this time to negate Assyrian camp. Not that it really mattered last time. And adding good Banju here. Like Zerubbabel is still his best option here. So he's got to buy my spirit to play on him. It tosses Lurking and it. Well, yeah. Would that still turn on Windows? Not sure about that. Because he's not currently owned by Josh, or he's not currently controlled by Josh, so I do not believe he would turn on Windows, but he does turn on Goshen. And Tiglath is coming out. And he's preserving his Great White Throne. So Josh trying to play a hired sword here to negate Jehoshaphat, but that should be tossed by Goshen. And Luke decides not to do any negating or discarding the negated card, and he plays the 3 woes to negate hired sword. Which brings Zerubbabel back into battle, puts Hakeem back on the table, or back off the table. And Josh doesn't have anything else for that, so I think that's gonna give the game to Luke. I think Josh is just thinking of anything else he can do here, but if he plays woes on Jehoshaphat, he's still losing by the numbers. He plays lurking. And now he plays lurking, bans an Assyrian camp, which is negated. And Luke has to, he doesn't have an advantage for out of Bethlehem, but he does have by my spirit to negate lurking. And yeah, Josh is hanging on to the Son of God there. And oof, man, yeah, Luke had a number of cards to keep going through. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up. 5-4 in Luke's favor. That puts Luke, Josh, myself, and Brad in the top 4, and that's where we're gonna call it. So thanks, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.